Welcome to Checks and Balances. I'm Michael Vincent. This is James Blair, and this week, the Great Credit Crunch.
Mike, words are getting thrown around a lot. An episode we're about to do next week, the R word, recession, we're going to throw around, which, don't worry, we're not panicking to that extent. But, it's okay, we'll work it out. But, interest rates have gone up a lot over 12 months. People thought this printing of money would just go on forever. And we're starting to see things like interest rates go up, inflation, external pressures, we've got wars overseas, a lot of things moving on. Mike, what's happening on the mortgage side?
Yeah, cool. So, effectively as interest rates rise, or as the Reserve Bank raises the official cash rates, also as there is more pressure on swap rates in the overnight money market, you are starting to see fixed interest rates and floating rates rise. Now, the main impact of that is that as customers roll off their fixed terms, or they go to take out a new mortgage, or their floating facility continues to roll on, their interest cost will go up on a monthly, weekly, fortnightly basis, meaning they will have less money in their pocket to spend on other things. This is by design. The government is trying to stamp out a bit of the inflation that's rampant in the economy at the moment. Arguably, I don't know if this is going to help, but look, that's another topic for another podcast. So they're trying to take demand out of the economy by giving people less money to spend on goods and services.
No more avocado on toast. No more halloumi sides. They're all over. So, in all seriousness, this is really material because 12 months ago, if we backtrack, interest rates were, what, 2.5%?
Yeah, they were like, I believe there were specials like 1.99 maybe.
Ooh,
it was,
one.
Yeah, but that's that sugar high interest rate, right?
Yeah.
That is the Reserve Bank trying to stimulate and the government trying to stimulate the economy through COVID, arguably through, well, we've continued to print money since the GFC, but mainly through COVID and that downturn. They tried to stimulate the economy through artificially low interest rates, which has put more money in people's pockets, which means they can spend more.
So interest rates 12 months ago had a 1 in it. Now we're starting to see them get very close to having a 5 in it, right?
Oh yeah, they're over 5. Yeah. So 1-2 year rates, maybe 4.99 at a discount, but you are seeing the longer term rates up in the 5s and the 6s.
So if you have $1 million mortgage and you had a 2% interest rate, very basic numbers, spend $20,000 a year on interest. If you are then at a 5% interest rate, you're paying $50,000 a year in interest.
Yeah.
Huge change, big difference to the average punter in terms of their cash flow. Mike, this is not good.
Look, it's not great for the average punter in terms of what they can spend. And I think the reason that it's really not good is because you're combining this increase in interest rates, or arguably a normalization of interest rates, with a lot of money printing that's been going into the economy, raising asset prices, noticeably house prices. So when you combine low interest rates, low test rates, means people can borrow more, plus a whole lot of money going into the economy, cheap money, it means that asset classes increase, house prices increase. You're seeing a lot of people with very large mortgages, $1 million mortgage, for example, meaning that yes, this shift in interest rates from 2% to 5%, it's $30,000 difference a year.
Yeah, and it's the combination effect, right, to your point. It's because house prices have jumped so much in a short period of time, you're paying more interest on a larger mortgage. Your great auntie Gertrude might have said in 1987, she was paying 20% on her mortgage, but of course that was only a $100,000 mortgage, right?
Oh, if that, right, is when houses cost 2 shekels. But I think that's a really important point, is that it's the annual income to house price ratio, which, a lot of times you'll hear people talk about, oh, well, I paid 15% or 12%. Yeah, but it was about 2 or 3 times, income to house price ratio. Whereas now you're looking like 8-9 times, which is significantly different.
So, Mike, you're talking to customers every day. Before we give an example, general sentiment, how are people feeling? How worried are they for those rolling off those rates and going onto those new rates? Ravi, can you please bleep that out? We are a PG show.
No, look, it's not all doom and gloom. There are different sort of strategies you can do to mitigate this. You can give some longer term rates, some shorter term rates, that sort of thing. But yes, there is real sentiment in the economy from customers that this is going to hurt.
I just can't believe you swore on the show. I'm still processing that. It emphasizes kind of where we're going and what people are thinking about.
Yeah.
Let's give the example, okay?
Yeah,
so I think you've got an example of an $800,000 mortgage. Repayments, what were they before? What was the interest rate? What is it going to be rolling on?
Yeah, cool. So let's go 800K mortgage. So you bought $1 million house, 200K deposit, so 80% LVR. Let's say you're on a 2.45% interest rate, 30-year loan term. That's going to cost you $3,141 a month for a principal and interest repayment. Now, if you're rolling on to, say, a 4.99% interest rate, a more relevant interest rate that we're seeing at the moment, that's going to cost you $4,290 per month. So about $1,150 per month difference. $265 a week, essentially. So $265 a week. I know you blanked out when I started talking numbers. $265 a week is the real short of the long there. That's how much additional you're going to be paying on that mortgage. You can't spend that money on avocado, coffees, whatever.
It's about a 30% jump, right? It's a very material, in terms of your basic shelter of your home, that's a very material jump.
Absolutely. So that's for your standard principal and interest 30-year loan term. Now, what we're really starting to see in some of the stress in the market is on the investment side. You've got loans not only rolling off their low interest rates, but also off their interest only period. Now, rolling off a low interest rate from one to the other, yeah, that's the hit that you're naturally going to take. However, rolling off your interest only period can also be a significant issue for your investment portfolio. The reason for that is most of these investment portfolio loans are on interest only while you focus on paying down your owner-occupied debt. So let's say I rolled off, let's keep it at the high interest rate, 4.99, and I rolled off my interest only period. On interest only, I'll be paying $3,327 a month. On principal and interest, $4,290 a month. Now, it's not as simple as just saying, well, 30 years principal and interest, 30 years interest only. If you are rolling off a 5-year interest only period, you will only have 25 years left to pay that back.
The bank wants their money back.
In that 25 years. So that means that your repayments are going to jump $1,346 a month. Now that is a substantial increase in cost for investors. And it may mean that people are recycling and juggling their portfolios to try and figure out what they're going to do.
So, Mike, interest rates are moving up. We're talking about nearly doubling and then some potentially in terms of the interest rate and a third of a jump in repayments in that example.
Yep.
There's a lot of clickbait we spoke about a few episodes ago in terms of media noise, 10% interest rates, inflation getting to really big numbers. How high do you think interest rates will go?
Yeah, it's tough to say, right? Because what the Reserve Bank, you could call it normalization to now, from going from 2% to 5%. If they continue to go up, you're trying to fight inflation using a traditional monetary policy tool, which is interest rates. Unfortunately, a lot of the inflation in the economy is supply side shock inflation. And just because you're giving people less money to spend doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be the same amount of goods in the economy to fight over. This monetary policy tool is really useful for fighting demand side pull inflation when there's too much money in the economy. That's not really what we're seeing now. So how high do I think they're going to go? Maybe a couple of percent up from here over the next couple of years, and then they'll probably come back a little bit and normalize.
So 5 plus a couple is 7?
Yep.
Okay, that was a long way to get to the answer. Thank you very much. Now, the obvious question, Mike, what should people be doing?
Yeah, look, it's not often I just go straight for talk to your broker, but talk to your broker. If you've got an investment portfolio, you want to get onto this sooner rather than later, especially if you've got interest-only periods that are rolling off in the next 12 months. The reason for this is, as interest rates rise, the stress testing rates that the banks use also rise. We're seeing 7.35 from ASB at the moment. That's gone up.
What were they, say, 12 months ago?
6s. Right. Yeah. So you can see they've really started to increase. Now that means that it is harder for you to get credit or roll over another interest-only period. So it is really important to speak to your broker, I'd say probably even over your banker, unless you've got a really good one, to sort of start to make adjustments in the portfolio and to the lending sooner rather than later. It may be that you're refinancing from one bank to the other bank to put it back on a 30-year period and then getting that 5 years of interest only. You don't always have to refinance from one bank to another, but that may be that that's the plan because your current bank is like, these loans only have 20 years left and we're not going to give you another 5 years.
Yeah, so you've got a 20-year mortgage, you reapply for it with another bank, potentially getting a 30-year mortgage, means the period of time you have to repay the mortgage is longer, which means your repayments can be less.
Yep, which means you can actually afford the interest-only period. Yep, you've got to combine it with an exit strategy, but that may be something you have to do.
Okay, really good point. I guess the big part here and the whole intention of rising interest rates is it sucks. Rising interest rates means you have less money in your pocket to have fun with other things. If we go back to COVID times and lockdowns are coming out of them with all the printing going in the economy, all the spas in New Zealand were sold out. Couldn't buy a spa anywhere. The luxury cars, they were all sold out. Really a representation of the times that there was lots of cash, house prices were going up, people were feeling good. Unfortunately, there's no free lunches, and we're seeing the results of that now where repayments are going to go up. So as Mike said, please make sure to have that conversation with your mortgage broker. Put a plan in place. Mike, we don't want people sticking their head in the sand and going,
not the time. Now is not the time to do that.
So make sure, pull the head out of the sand, get on with the show. We'll wrap it up there. We'll see you next week. I still can't believe you swore. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Give us a review.
Luxury cars. The MG.